You're ready.
Go.
We're good.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Brookfield Zoning Commission regular meeting. Tonight is August 24th, 2023. This meeting is being held at 7 p.m. in Town Hall Room number 133. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we'll ask the commissioners to please introduce themselves, starting from my far left.
Kurt Timmerman, alternate.
Andrew Kame, Secretary.
Gary Getz, Chairman.
Phoebe Holmes, regular member.
Gwen Arment, alternate.
Mike Lucia, alternate.
Mr. Lucia, I'll ask you to please be seated for Mr. Komar and Mr. Timmerman for Mr. Pratt. Thank you. At this time, the chair is prepared to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I'd make a motion that we enter executive session.
Thank you. Mr. Kame has made the motion. It's been seconded by Mr. Timmerman. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Guess we'll wait a minute if people want to come back in.
Oh, it's 4 of them.
Thank you, Mr. Lally. We've been waiting a long time otherwise. At this time, the chair would be happy to recognize a motion that we go out of executive session and back to a regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I make a motion that we end the executive session and return to a regular meeting.
Mr. Kame has made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Mr. Timmerman has seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? None. We are now back in executive, or rather, regular session. So next item up on the agenda is item number 3, a possible vote on item discussed in executive session. This time, the chair would be happy to entertain a motion relative to that.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I'd like to make a motion that the commission approve the proposed settlement for Susan Paré et al. Versus the zoning commission of the town of Brookfield et al., 117 Old State Road, which will involve the parties jointly requesting that the trial court open and vacate the judgment.
Thank you. Mr. Kame has made the motion. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Mr. Lucia has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. So I will now sign this.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
I suppose we'll get copies.
Yes, as
All
soon
right.
as soon as I assemble all the signatures.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, item number 4, enforcement. Mr. Lally.
Okay. As you can see, I've been extremely busy.
What's new?
First, item 47 High Ridge Road. There's been no change in the property up there. There's a remote pre-trial set for September 27th, 2023, with a trial date of 10/12/23. So that's moving forward. 4 Heather Lane, the Gomes residence. The rooster is finally removed over there. The neighbors are extremely happy at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the applicant has applied for the shed permit as required. So, 327 Candlewood Lake Road. This is opposite Lakeville Towing up on the hill. I got a complaint come in that an individual has a commercial vehicle up there who owns and operates the property across the street. I did send a notice of violation requesting compliance on that property. So I have not heard back from the owner yet, so. And that's one of my informal discussions tonight is commercial vehicles, so. Moving on to the next page, 902 Federal Road, Dominic Gaeta, neighborhood blight. A complaint came in about the property being blighted. Grass wasn't being mowed and the building was just dilapidating and there was garbage there. So I sent a notice of violation requesting compliance, and the owner has since complied. He has cleaned the property up, and actually grass looks pretty good, so he is trying to maintain and he's trying to sell the property, so I'm gonna keep an eye on that one right there. Moving on to 3 West Wisconneer Road, Sarah Jo Banks. Complaint came into the office regarding a carport was installed against the property line, the chain link fence, so I did send a notice of violation requesting compliance. The owner called and she will remove it. So I have an inspection date of next week to go out there and take a look at it, so. Moving on, 6 Trailing Ridge Road, Demetrius Magistrani. Complaint came in regarding commercial vehicle, plumbing vehicle in the driveway overnight. I sent him a notice of violation. He did reach out to me right away, and he's working with the office to bring the property into compliance. Again, it's a commercial vehicle under 13,000 pounds, just a plumbing vehicle. Moving on, 2 Yankee Drive, Lisa and John Mascala. complaint come in. The owners had they had clear cut roughly about maybe 50 to 375 feet of town property without any approvals from the town or Conservation Commission. And in doing so, upon inspection, they realized they had a brand new shed on their property. So I sent a notice of violation, and they are working with Artel Engineering because they need to apply for a variance for the shed because it does not meet setbacks. So that's continued. Moving on to 2 Bonnie Road, Gina Medina. Complaint came in again about an illegal apartment. Boyfriend was being evicted from downstairs from the owner's place. So of course, never a good thing. And there was a lot of changes that were made in there. It wasn't as off our apartment. They installed the stove, sink, the whole 9 yards of an apartment. So she did come in and she's trying to bring the property into compliance. I'm trying to do a plan to show the 480 to 800 square feet of living space as required in the regulations. So 42 South Lake Shore Drive, Elizabeth Murtaugh. Complaints been coming in regarding the short-term rental Airbnb. We sent a notice asking compliance with an application along with the form for the tax assessor. There's been no response from the owner. We did give her till September 15, 2023 to respond. I know hopefully that the new ordinances will go through and then the fines will obviously change because currently we don't have a fee amount for this violation because it's a new one in the regulations. So still continuing to monitor that one. 5 Stony Farm Lane, complaint, Rodriguez residents complaint came in that there's a construction material dumped in the front yard on the corner. It's a lot of concrete mafia blocks. So I did send a notice of violation requesting compliance by September 15th also. And that went out on the 16th this month. Moving on. On the cease and desist list, 31 Green Knoll Drive, obviously we discussed that in executive session. Like I said, land use director has reached out to Connecticut Deep, trying to get them out there to take a look at the analysis of the property and see what they feel is good material, what's suitable material, and what should be done. So we're still waiting to hear back from Deep on that one. 158 Long Meadow Hill Road. This was brought to my attention by the assessor's office. And the application came through, and it turns out that the house is being occupied without a CO or a certificate of zoning compliance, and it's also brought to the attention from the assessors that there's an accessory apartment downstairs. The property owner, Mr. Payak, was away, and he has since returned, and he is going to be allowing me to do an inspection of the property along with the building official to see what's exactly in there. So I'll have another update on that after the next meeting, after I do my inspection. So, 89 East Skinner Road, zone residents, obviously, I sent everyone an email on Saturday. The court ruled in the town's favor after how many years? 2 years at least, over 2 years. But the court did rule in our favor. So again, as Attorney Schellenberg was saying, we have to wait till September. We have another hearing or date on the 25th to see whatever damages are going to be awarded to the town. So I'll continue to keep the commission apprised of all that. And then 35 Hidden Brook Drive, the tourist residence, that's the small garage they built off the side. That was referred to the town attorney, to the building department violation also. I don't have a current update on that one. I did reach out to Attorney Kokinos, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So. And that's my enforcement report.
Thank you, Mr. Lally.
Yes.
Did any of the commissioners have any questions for
Yes.
Mr. Lally?
On 31 Green Knoll, has the water been tested, the aquifer at all?
No, that's my knowledge, no.
That's, I think that's what the neighbors are so concerned about.
We're hoping that Deep can get out there and they can help us or assist us or do some kind of testing on it.
Is it that difficult?
Yeah.
Can somebody do it?
Yeah.
Mr. King?
I'm not qualified to do it.
I
She said
mean, it's been a year, that's all.
Yeah,
And
no, I
they're very
understand.
concerned about it,
Yeah,
and
no, I
the
understand.
neighbors are really concerned about the values of their
Oh, absolutely.
properties.
No. I don't know what the right answer would be. If the town wants to hire somebody to go out there, I mean, that's a decision I can't make, but,
So that would be on the town's dime to pay and check it. So,
yeah.
so we
Mr.
might
King?
get it for free with Deep doing it? Is that,
But they're not
but
doing
they're
it.
not doing
Well,
it?
they might give guidance at some point.
Just two quick comments on that. I think we do need to hear from Deep first, and then I think we should,
Spring for that?
well, I think we should consider having a discussion
I do too.
on moving ahead with that. And then I did have a question. I keep hearing these things on Airbnb, a lot of problems with that. Is that something the commission should revisit or consider revisiting or take a look at again?
Absolutely.
There seemed to be there seems to be a lack of clarity as to what's happening there.
They're impossible to enforce. You know,
Okay.
That's the problem.
All right, so that's something that we should look at maybe for,
Yeah.
in terms of revising regulations.
When you have a property that's, especially in the shores, that's being rented 2 to 3 times or 4 times
Right.
a week, you know,
Right.
for a couple days here, a couple
Yeah,
days there.
I'm not sure that was the original intent of the regulations,
Oh, it isn't,
No.
it isn't.
so,
But
Okay.
the other thing is, and if you look at our next agenda item about the fines, they reworded the whole thing, so anything that gets a fine is covered in the zoning regs. So if we add some new thing that has a fine associated with it, the fine's already set up
Okay.
because of that ordinance.
all right, something to consider for the future.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
No further questions?
Anyone else have any further questions for Mr. Lally? Hearing none, we'll move along. Number 5, review correspondence. We have a memo from Land Use Director Laura Barkowski that was sent to the Board of Selectmen on August the 7th regarding zoning violations and citations. And we also have item B, regulation change, excuse me, regulation change notification letter from the City of Danbury regarding mixed-use regional mall zoning district. Okay. Item number 6, review minutes of previous meetings. We have 3 different sets of minutes to review and approve tonight. First being June 22nd, 2023. It was tabled at our July 27th meeting because I believe Mr. Kane, you wanted to make a clarification or a motion relative to an abstention that you were perhaps not able to make
Yeah.
at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a vote that I think Chairman Komar conducted it, and there was a vote on one issue on there that I was approved, the vote was approved, but it was, I didn't vote to approve it, I abstained from the vote, so there's abstentions and the other thing. That's the only thing. There's no change in operational strategy, it's just that I didn't vote to approve it, that's all.
Would you
I-
therefore like to make a motion to accept those minutes with the amendment that you actually did abstain?
I would make the motion that we approve those minutes with that minor change, that I did not vote in favor of it, I simply abstained from the vote. The
Okay,
vote is not changed in any way, it's still approved.
all right. Mr. King has made a motion. Do we have a second to the motion on those minutes?
Second?
Mr. Timmerman has seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from June 22nd as amended in this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None. That amendment and those minutes have now been approved. Next item up is July 27th, 2023. We also have the minutes there. Is there any discussion about that? Hearing none. Anyone like to make a motion that we approve those minutes then?
Mr. Chairman, if approved, the commission approves, I would recommend that we approve the minutes of the July 27th meeting.
Mr. Kames made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Mrs. Holmes has seconded it. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries as well. Then, next up, we have minutes from an August 10th, 2023 special meeting. Chair would be happy to entertain a motion relative to those minutes as well.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the August 10th, 2023 special meeting be approved.
Second?
Mr. James made the motion. Timmerman has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Is this in our packet?
No.
Oh,
Just one
This one page, we got it in
Where's
an
that?
email too, but it's.
oh, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So there's no discussion. So all those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from our special meeting on August 10th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion
Abstain.
carries.
Yep, I abstain.
You did abstain?
I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Mr. Lucia did abstain. I apologize. Thank you, Mike. Next item is number 7, continued public hearings. There are none. Item number 8, public hearings. Is there a packet for that?
Yep.
Okay. That item is A, and it relates to 33A Carmen Hill Road, Z-23-41. Justin Giuliano, the proposed barn with 1,120 square foot accessory apartment and an 880 square foot garage space. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to open the public hearing, and I will read to you how we do that. Brookfield Zoning Commission, introduction to public hearing, August 24th, 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Commission. At this point in our agenda, we have scheduled a public hearing concerning the application of Justin Giuliano, application number Z-23-41, for proposed barn with 1,120 square foot accessory apartment and an 880 square foot garage space. At this time, again, to follow the formality of this process, we'll ask that the commissioners please introduce themselves again, starting with my far left.
Per Timmerman, alternate?
Andrew Kame, Secretary.
Gary Getz, Chairman.
Phoebe Holmes, regular member.
Gwen Arment, alternate.
Mike Lucia, alternate.
Thank you. We will open this public hearing by calling upon the commission's secretary to please read the legal notice of this hearing.
This legal notice was placed in the News Times on August 11th and August 21st. The notice, Brookfield Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 100 Pocono Road, room 133, at 7 p.m. on August 24th, 23, for an application by Justin Giuliano, 33A Carmen Hill Road, to construct an 1,120 square foot garage with living quarters. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications received. Files are available for inspection at the Town Hall. Gary Getz, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. This application was formally received by the commission on July 12th, 2023. The public hearing is only one aspect of the approval process, and it is for the purposes of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application and to allow expression of opinion by interested parties. Subsequent to this hearing, the Commission has 65 days in which to render a decision on this proposal. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or denied. After reading into the record the correspondence received by the Commission relative to this application, we will ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The presentation will be limited to 45 minutes. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification concerning the applicant's presentation. We will hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have one opportunity to speak during this segment of the The commissioners may ask additional questions. The bylaws of the commission allow only for the presentation of similar positions in succession and preclude the intermixture of comments pro or con. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. As you are recognized, please state your name and address so that your comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the commission is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application. And in view of the time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. After the public comments are received, the applicant will have the opportunity to comment, and the time will be limited to 10 minutes. Are there any questions? Is there any correspondence relative to this? If there is, we will now ask the secretary to proceed with the reading of correspondence.
Do we have correspondence for that?
Is there none? There
Just
is
the
none.
legal notice.
No,
Okay.
there's no
And
correspondence.
we already read the legal notice, so the chair is now prepared to hear the applicant's presentation. Would the applicant please come up to the podium and again state your name and address for the record?
I don't think Andy read the legal notice of the News Times legal notice, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
that
Yes.
what we did?
I stand here.
Yes, please.
I'm Justin Giuliano, 33A Carmen Hill Road, Brookfield, Connecticut. I'm here for applying for a accessory apartment on my property for my parents to move into. 1,120 square foot apartment with a garage attached to it.
Okay. Is that your presentation?
I wasn't aware I had to do a presentation.
Mr. Chairman, if I may say, he did receive a variance from the ZBA on the size of the apartment with the zoning board of appeals at the last meeting,
Yes,
I believe it was.
Okay,
yeah. Did two of those meetings.
thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments or clarification?
A question of clarification. I saw your plot plan, and is this gonna be a separate building, or is this gonna be part of the existing?
Separate building.
So there's a separate building going on the property. I guess the variance would have that plot plan then.
I'm sorry?
Is that gonna be in front of the house, behind the house?
Front of the house, yeah.
You mind if I walk up?
Oh, not at all.
See, oh, I didn't realize how bad it came through on the property, but that's where it's gonna be.
Oh, so that's a picture
Yes,
of
yeah.
where, okay.
Correct, yeah. I got the variance for the front of the property, the square footage, and the
Setback.
setbacks. From the ZBA, went through all that and got the approvals for those.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Arment?
Yes, you're right next to the tower, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And so it's going to be where you've cut down the trees?
In the front of the house, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you saw it, yeah.
Right in front of the house?
Yeah. The septic system's behind the house, that's where we had to put in the front of the house.
So how far are you from the tower? How far will that be from the tower?
From the tower itself, couple hundred feet,
Couple hundred?
yeah, yes.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Does the audience have any questions of clarification before we hear comments, pro or con? The chair is now prepared to recognize those who wish to speak in favor of this application. Okay, seeing none, the chair is now prepared to recognize those who wish to speak in opposition to this application. Likewise, seeing none. Seems to me that we might be at the point of a commissioner be interested in making a motion relative to this application.
I'll make a motion to
Mr.
close the
Timmerman.
public hearing for application, my glasses on, Z-23-41, 33A Carmen Hill Road, proposed barn with 1,120 square foot accessory apartment and 880 square foot garage space.
Thank you, Mr. Timmerman. Mr. Timmerman has made the motion. Do we have a second to his motion?
Second.
Mrs. Holmes has seconded the motion. Do we have any discussion?
Just a question?
Yes.
Yes, where are your parents coming in from?
Westchester, New York.
Thank you. The motion is now whether to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion relative to that? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Are there any abstentions? No. Well, the motion carries, the public hearing is closed. Is there any, the chair at this time would be happy to entertain a motion relative to the application itself.
I make a motion to approve, 33A Carmen Hill Road, Z-23-41. Proposed barn with 1,120 square foot accessory apartment and 880 square foot garage space.
Thank you, Mr. Timmerman.
I would second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Seeing as they got their variance and it's pretty straightforward and you know, it gives this sort of extra living space at reduced costs, you know, sort of affordable place to live. I think
Yes.
it's good.
I just had a question, and I hope this is in order. Are you doing the construction, or is it being handled by someone, or?
I'm gonna general contract it, but I'm gonna hire out
Okay.
contractors and stuff.
All right, thank you. Did we get a second on that motion from Mr. Timmerman?
I think I seconded it.
You did? Okay, Mr. Kane seconded it. Is there any further discussion on that motion then? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no or nay. And are there any abstentions? No. The motion carries, the application is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item up, number 9, old business. Draft regulation change cannabis sales and distribution.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I think in light of all our business tonight, if we could push this to the next meeting. I think that there are a few changes that need to be made in the text of that in light of, you know, our consideration of commercial districts and that. I know there is a discussion that needs to be had regarding, you know, retail sales. This is not I think that discussion needs to be had. In light of all our business tonight, I think that we would be better served by taking a little more time at our next meeting to discuss it fully.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Kane has made a motion to table this item until September 14th, our next meeting. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second?
Mr. Timmerman has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call it. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none. The motion carries. We will table this item till our next meeting, which is on September 14th, 2023. Item number 10, new business. A, 100 Pocono Road, Z-23 excuse me, actually, at this point, the chair would entertain a motion to modify this agenda item to include usage in zones not only C1, but also I1 and CP.
Motion, said motion. I'll make that motion.
Mr. Timmerman has made a motion to amend that agenda item as indicated. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Kane has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay, so now the item will read 100 Pocono Road, Z-23-44, Town of Brookfield, proposed text amendment regarding usage in C1, I1, and CP zones, and a public hearing can be set for September 14th, 2023. Do we have a motion relative to that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we set a public hearing for Z-33-44 for September 14th, 2023.
Mr. Kane has made a motion. Do we have a second to the motion?
He said Z-33, Z-23.
I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. Z-23-44. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I second his motion.
All right, Mr. Kane has made a motion. Mrs. Holmes has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. This item will be set for public hearing on September 14th. Thank you. Next item, B, 101 Laurel Hill Road, Z-23-47, Nicholas Yushak of CCA LLC, 40 Old New Milford Road, Brookfield, for Fourth Quarry Associates LLC, 1177 High Ridge Road, Suite 141, Stamford. Site plan modification to 1, remove emergency access drive from the southeast corner of the site and add 2 parking spaces. 2, relocate emergency access drive to Laurel Hill Road and delete 2 parking spaces. And 3, remove dog walk area south of the proposed clubhouse. Is the applicant here?
Yes, yeah.
Please state your name and
Mr.
address for the
Chairman,
record.
for the record, Nick Ushjak, CCA LLC, registered landscape architect. We're at 40 Old New Milford Road in Brookfield. And I believe you went through very specifically the items that we're doing. Just to orient everybody to the lower right-hand corner of the screen, it's a little bit.
Trying to get it clear, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with it. I apologize, there it goes.
Oh, that's okay. Down at the very lower right-hand corner is the former location of the fire access. We're now removing that from the southeast corner and placing 2 parking spaces there. We are relocating the fire access off of Laurel Hill Road. That is in your upper left, that's just south of the clubhouse. There is a proposed fire access. It's 18 feet wide. It's south of the clubhouse. And there will be lockable gates at the top and the bottom. This has been reviewed by the fire marshal and approved. Also, WPCA has stated that there's no jurisdiction over this, no sewer impact at this present time. And in order to do this, we're also removing the dog walk area that was there formerly. Basically, that is it unless there's any questions. Fairly straightforward.
Timmerman,
Why are you moving the fire access, except for the fact that maybe you're going through someone's property in the previous?
Well, this evening we have the applicant, Mr. Robert Hebert, who's the applicant owner, and he may be able to shed more light on the background for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we tried to.
You could
please go up to the podium and
And
state your
identify
name and
yourself.
address for the record.
Yes, Bob Hebert, Ridgefield, Connecticut. We tried to, we were told we were gonna have the emergency access. It would have been approved by the owner of the bowling alley, and he was unable to come through with that. So we met with the fire marshal on a couple of different occasions. We looked at different options, and so we came up with this option, so we don't have to worry about, trying to get easements through him or anyplace else. So that's the only reason, for doing it. And, it works fine for the property, and it also, like I say, it gives us full control. We'll be able to move forward now with demoing the 2 houses on there and begin the development.
I mean, if you put some fire hydrants, the dogs would be happy again.
We're gonna do that anyway. They're up there.
Yeah, I just had a question. I appreciate that this is really a minor site plan thing, but order of operations, you're gonna install the new fire access first before the old one gets removed?
There isn't one there now.
Okay, all right.
So it's, right now, it's, we're going to, when we begin our site work,
Okay,
we have 2 abandoned houses on the property now. Those will be demolished, hopefully. We're gonna, if this gets approved tonight, we will begin we'll re-engage our site work. Verdi does the site work, so we're gonna re-engage them to get the houses, down here in within the next month or so. And then we'll, start clearing the property. So that's, when we put the first driveway in, we'll be putting that emergency driveway in. I mean, the cut will be made at the same time. So, but, it'll be all simultaneous. So when the first building goes up, we'll have the 2, both the main and the emergency access.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Mr.
Obviously,
Lucia.
yeah, obviously fire access is most important. Is there any alternate place? Like, do you have a lot of dogs who live there? Like, are people gonna
There's
miss
no,
it?
right now,
Nobody
this is
has
a
them?
brand-new development.
Oh, all right, okay.
Okay,
Nobody
it's, you
knows.
know,
Nobody
it's,
will miss it.
yeah, it's gonna be a brand-new development, of 108, apartment units. So there's, we are gonna permit, you know, small pets, or small dogs, and, we will, we had envisioned a dedicated area to that, but what we may do now is just, you know, incorporate this emergency, access way as possibly a walkway too for the, you know, for the pets. You know, give them, and we have a walkway going around the back of the property, you know, behind the units themselves. So, the pets will be well cared for there.
Thank you. Ms. Sarment?
Thank you. I'm not familiar with this development. Is it going to be like the other one on Laurel Hill? Will it look the same?
I don't know, no.
Is it affordable housing?
It's 20%, 20% affordable under the original,
Incentive, wasn't it?
I beg your
It
pardon?
was incentive,
The
correct?
incentive, right, yes.
Incentive housing, because it was in
It was,
the zone.
it was rezoned after we got the approval, so after we submitted our application. So there will be 20% of the area median income, and so it'll be roughly 21, 22 units.
Are we still in a moratorium?
Yes. We already have our sewer approval.
Oh.
All that is done. This is simply, we were ready to go, but we couldn't get the easement. And I think it's for personal reasons with the owner of the bowling alley. So we are making the site plan modification request tonight to put the second emergency access and off of Laurel Hill rather than the back of the property. And I spoke with Jason when he was the fire marshal, and now the new fire marshal, you know, Mike Howes, I've reviewed this multiple times with him. I gave him the plan that you have in front of you, the one that we had recently drafted by CCA, and he's, you know, fully supportive of it.
Thank you. Any other questions? At this time, the chair would be happy to entertain a motion relative to this application.
Mr.
Mr. Timmerman?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve, application Z-23-47, 101 Laurel Hill Road. Site plan modification to move the emergency access drive. Paraphrasing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that motion.
Mr. Timmerman's made the motion, Mr. Kame has seconded it. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries, the application's approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman on the board, we very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Next item up under new business is item C, 119 Obtuse Hill Road, Z-23-48. Jim Williams and Shauna Renna, 119 Obtuse Hill Road, Brookfield. Installation of a 36-foot by 72-foot pole barn. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
James Williams, 119 Obtuse Hill Road, Brookfield.
Thank you. Please go ahead and present.
Okay, well, basically, what I'm seeking to approve is a pole barn, 150.
Sure, you might have it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So basically, it's just as it states, a pole barn. It's going to be basically a garage for my collection of cars. I'm a car guy, so I need a home for my cars.
Any commissioners have questions?
I-
Mr. Williams?
I've heard the term pole barn, but what is it, why is it called a pole barn?
Basically, it's because it has poles within the structure itself. So instead of it being wide open space, there are gonna be structural poles inside.
Like lolly column?
Yes, exactly. You can call it that.
A lolly barn.
But support posts.
Yes, yep.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions? Comments? Mr. Kane?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions in terms of your neighbors and sight lines and
Yep.
that type of thing, and
It's a fairly large piece of property, so it's really not gonna be in sight of anybody that's in the local area. So, it's pretty isolated on the property. There's actually a clearing already established for it, so, and it's all heavily wooded around it. So you won't, nobody will see it but me.
okay.
Oh, I have one more.
Sure,
What's the
Mr.
height
Timmerman.
to the peak?
I believe it's on the paperwork. I don't
It
know
shows
offhand.
21.8
Good.
to the living.
Should I pass it down?
To the floor,
You
right.
only give us
Yeah.
one?
And I
Go ahead.
I believe it's another maybe 15 feet to the peak from there, so.
Thank you, Mr. Timmerman. Any other commissioners?
How far is it from the
Armand?
well?
The well is nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it.
Yeah, the house is, I mean, it's almost 6 acres of land, so the house is substantially far away. Several hundred feet from where the garage is going.
Looks as big as your house.
It is almost. I have a lot of cars. Right now, they're in several garages all over the area, so I'm trying to consolidate into one. The rent is getting outrageous.
Mr. Kane?
Yeah, and this is, again, I didn't research the height requirements for,
Yep.
I assume you're in residential areas, so.
Yep.
Are we falling within the height requirements for the
Yes,
residential?
everything is
Okay.
gonna be within the required height.
It's 30 feet
Okay,
for a R60 zone, which he's in.
and I assume the slab construction,
Slab, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, then if this, go ahead, Mrs.
it-
Arment.
Will there be anything else in the barn, like a bathroom?
There will be running water, cause there is potential well next to where the building is going. There will be really I don't think there's gonna be anything else in there. Storage, I may put a pool table in there, a rec room, maybe a ping pong table, something like that, but, no. There won't be a bathroom in there.
Thank you, Mrs. Arment.
so it's not,
Mr. Kane.
it's not designed for any living quarters, just
No.
a vehicle storage, okay.
No. There is storage space on the upper level, and like I said, it's gonna be more for storage and, like a rec room. So, but that's it, there will be no living space in it.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, then, at this time, the chair would be happy to entertain a motion relative to this application as well.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the commission, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application for 119 Obtuso Road, application Z-23-48 for the installation of a 36 by 72-foot pole barn.
Mr. Kane has made a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Lucia has seconded Mr. Kane's motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, Mrs. Arment?
It's okay.
Is this flat land?
Yes.
You need to,
Yes,
Bring in anything.
it's almost dead flat. So there will be very little site work to be done. They just, obviously they have to cut into it for the slab, but that's about it. There's no drainage issues, nothing really, just a flat piece of land. Thankfully. Cuts down on the cost of the building, for sure.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Arment. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Well, then, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none. The motion carries. The application's approved.
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
what kind of cars?
All kinds of cars. Literally, I have old Cadillacs and
Oh,
I have my very
Vintage.
first car I ever owned, a 1970 Chevelle. Bought it when I was 15 and a half years old and kept it. So-
454 LS6, no doubt.
Enjoy.
Convertible.
Oh, really?
enjoy.
No, my kid.
I would like that.
There's only 7 of those made.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next item, number 11, tabled items. Item A, bond release for 291 Federal Road. Mr. Lally, would you like to speak to that, please?
I would, yeah. I've been talking with Brian Phillips, who was actually part of Langen, and they weren't aware of the sidewalk, or they were, but on the plans, proposed future concrete sidewalk was to be coordinated with the Connecticut DOT and the land use office, sidewalk to conform to our standards. They did reach out to me. I've been going back and forth with him, and they weren't aware that the DOT project was taking place. So I need to reach out to him tomorrow and let him know that the project has started, and the sidewalk does need to be installed as per the original plan and the resolution of approval from whatever, 2017.
So at this time, we're not going to really
No,
entertain
no,
the bond
no,
return,
no,
okay.
no, continue
So we're going to wait to hear from you.
Exactly, yes, yep.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lally. Next tabled item is under number 11B, as in Bravo, revision of zoning fee schedule, land use director. I believe folks may have received in their packet correspondence from Laura Bałkowski. I think you may be just getting it tonight, so
Yeah.
I guess people might want to take a look at that, and unless someone has comments at this time, maybe we can continue to review it, keep it on our agenda.
That's what, Mr. Chairman, that's what she had asked, that everyone just take it and review it all, and she's, open to comments for the next meeting, so.
Thank you.
Just for
Yeah, sure.
edification, the first pink page is not, that I added all the section numbers of our current ones. So now if you look, you'll see that the new section numbers are in there. And then marking off things that no longer exist, like major shopping centers, natural resource permit doesn't exist, but earthworks and grading does. Wood cutting doesn't exist anymore. So ours has been modified just to what really exists right now. So that's the only new information on ours.
Thank you, great work. Anyone else have a comment, or certainly could talk about it again once you had a chance to review it?
Just like to say good job.
Yeah,
That's a lot of it.
it's good to see a lot of things happening. Thank you. Next item is number 12, Commissioner comments and informal discussion. Item A is an alpha discussion regarding St. Joseph's School, Ward Mizuko. Please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Mizuko.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name's Ward Mizuko. I'm a lawyer in Danbury, and with me tonight is Father O'Neill from the school. And I'm not sure how much background the commission has. As you may know, my client approached Mr. Lally a few months ago about using some of the school for a dance school. And we, after some back and forth, we followed up with Mr. Lally and presented some legal precedent that suggested that the school, being non-conforming, was allowed to continue with really a variety of educational uses in light of its history. And he then discussed that with town council. And I think that he had a few questions, which I answered for him, and he said that the commission might have some additional questions, which I'm happy to help with.
I can read into the record the questions that were sent to me to requests from the individuals. Is, did the school operate over the summer, and if so, what were the activities? And the response is yes, over the years. Vacation Bible camps, sports clinics, Boys and Girls Scout meetings, remedial study classes, etc. Did the school operate on weekends, and if so, what were the activities? Was there a Sunday school or catechism class? Answer is yes, but primarily for religious ed classes, sports, practice, parish events, church and school administration meetings. When the school operated, did buses pick up and drop off students? Answer is yes, It was also used for center school busing, staging for years. What evidence is there about the impact of a dance school as opposed to the impact of the former religious school? And the answer from the applicant is no impact other than some later night sessions, no weekends and no large events, and all recitals are done at a larger venue such as Brookfield High School. And besides the fact that our young families will have the opportunity to have dance instruction available conveniently on parish grounds if they're interested. Question 5 is, how many students will be enrolled at the dance school? Do we know the maximum size of classes for any given session? Answer is approximately 186 students spread out over the sessions throughout the day and week as they do on Old Brookfield Road per enrollment and classes schedules on their website. And did the church earn income when it let City of Danbury use the school? Answer is yes, monthly rental income for the year plus utilities and all expenses except roof and structure. The church paid no portion of renovation to the school prior, and approximate costs of renovation by DPS amounted to $450,000 as stated by DPS. So, and those were the questions that were answered. So the question is does the commission feel that a dance school would be allowed there? It's a class, it's a school. Just trying to get input.
Well, I just have a couple questions. How would this be handled? Would there be a special permit or an application for that, or?
No, I think I would maybe just a certificate of zoning compliance for the dance school. To
Yeah,
use.
I don't really see, I mean, it's one school versus another school,
Yeah,
so I don't see that there's a change in use.
yeah.
You've had the Danbury in there, and they were teaching educational things, I think, so I don't see, it's one school versus another school. Maybe this is not my point, but, I mean, obviously that's a rental situation. It's not a municipal or religious organization at this point, so there may be some other implications there, which I'm sure you're well aware of. So, but in terms from a zoning perspective, I can't see any from a traffic perspective, from a safety perspective. There won't be any building, will there be any changes to the building, or?
No interior or exterior renovations required. It's as is. They're just eager to start.
I agree with Andy, it's education, dance education versus other types.
And there were dances in the school over the years.
And they'll park in the parking lots that are already there?
Parking would only be in the parking lot.
Okay.
That was Father O'Neill answering, for the record.
Nice to meet you.
Mrs. Arment?
Yes. Well, being a former professional dancer, I'm all for it. But you're not going to have any classes on Saturday? No Saturday classes?
I don't think there's.
Do you have a school coming in?
I don't think anybody suggested that there would not be Saturday classes.
Because you said no weekend. That surprised me.
Let me go back to
Because
that.
Saturday is
answer,
really
make sure it was
important.
Accurate. I think the question was,
For
what
dance school.
activities have there been on the weekends? What are the historic activities? And we answered yes, primarily for religious ed classes, sports practices, parish events, church and school administration meetings. Those things all happened on weekends. And I would expect that a dance school would operate on
For
Saturdays.
sure, especially on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Use it, yeah.
Any other commissioners' comments? Mr. Timmerman?
No?
I second Mr. Timmerman's analysis there. I don't see a change in use here.
My son's a dancer. I support it. It's good.
I like Fred Astaire.
What kind of dancing?
I think.
Don't know.
Well, they're an old Brookfield institution. It's whatever they've been teaching over the years. They're just going to relocate here.
So you do have somebody,
Dance Academy.
a dance academy coming in?
Yeah, it's the one around old Route 7, Old Brookfield Road, over by the
Oh.
YMCA.
Old New Milford.
Old Milford.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that one.
So,
Okay.
would there be any signage changes?
I imagine they would need a sign of some sort. I don't know for sure, though. But of course, they'd have to get a permit from Mr. Lally for that.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Well, thank you.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Item 12B as in Bravo, discussion regarding commercial vehicles, F. Lally.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
So as you've seen in my enforcement report, there's been several issues with commercial vehicles. In going through the regs, I guess it's a little confusing because by zoning permit under Article 3, permitted by zoning permit, commercial vehicle parking, one commercial vehicle not exceeding 13,000 pounds gross vehicle weight may be parked or garaged on a residential lot. So these complaints that I've been receiving, they've been smaller type vehicles.
Like the pool guy or the septic guy? The plumber.
Plumber.
There's a plumbing one.
It was the plumber, yeah.
There's an electrical one now, I got one on, painters. They're one vehicle. I mean, it's a van, it's a pickup truck
Yeah,
with a rack.
that doesn't seem too bad to me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Somebody actually reported the plumbing truck?
Yes. But,
neighbor?
but if you go to Article 3-11, commercial vehicle parking in a residential zone, A, B, E, commercial vehicles unless approved by the commission overnight 8 to 6, parking of commercial type vehicles is prohibited in all residential districts. So we're saying one thing in
Oh.
here, but then we're saying something different here, so I'm confused. I mean,
Where's the
obviously there's-
page, Fran?
I'm sorry?
What page is it? I don't.
59.
Okay, thank you.
My pages aren't numbered, I'm sorry. Article 311.
Item E.
Okay, item E. Okay.
I can see for commercial vehicles that
Otherwise-
exceed 13,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. Because if you go permitted by zoning permit, permitted by special permit, actually, commercial vehicle parking, one commercial vehicle exceeding 26,000 pounds gross vehicle weight.
Well, that's pretty big.
It's like a dump truck or a
Yeah,
haul truck.
yeah.
Or Lakeville.
Or Lakeville,
It almost seems like E is missing a couple extra words like commercial vehicles over 13.
Yeah, more definition.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well-
agree.
What are you asking us to do?
I'm just trying to get some clarification, so by me not taking enforcement on the commercial vehicles, would the commission consider that just a regular zoning permit for any vehicle under 13,000 pounds?
You know, the original intention was because a lot of people in town have their work vehicle that they have to take home, and they're usually small, like plumbers and electrical, below.
Especially in the wintertime, yeah.
Then that's like, hey, they can't go put that somewhere. Their employers are asking them to use this vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's like, give them a break. One, that's fine, it's your vehicle you take back and forth to commute to work. So that was the intention, allow one for the person doing that job.
I agree with Mr. Timmerman on this, Commissioner Timmerman on this particular thing. I'm just a little concerned about the 13,000 pound limit. An E250 van or a Sprinter van or something like that, I'm not sure they get up to 13,000
No.
pounds.
Well,
I
that's
think,
gross vehicle weight, so you could have a lot of stuff inside.
well, again, my big concern is if it's something that, a dump truck, for example, might not be a thing, might not be what we're looking for. A landscape trailer with being pulled by an F-350 or with a snowplow on it, that might not be what we're looking for. If it's a plumbing van, carpenter van, sort of discreet type vehicle, not really anything that big, I think that's where we were headed originally. With, as Mr. Timmerman, somebody brings a vehicle home from an oil service company, for example, and they're parking it there overnight, they're leaving at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock the next day, I don't think that's objectionable, but
No.
I think we need to be
I
clear
don't
here.
either. I don't either. And I can't believe it was in your report that neighbors are actually reporting
They are.
those types of vehicles,
They are. Yeah.
to you, but
Yeah, but it'll take a lot of enforcement enforcement off me if we just decide to go to permitted by a zoning permit.
Yeah.
I just have to just fill out a permit to keep the vehicle on the property.
I'm loath to suggest more work for the commission, but I do take Commissioner Holmes's point seriously. I do think some of these regulations maybe need to be looked at and clarified. B&B, Airbnb, this particular thing.
Especially when they seem to contradict another
Yeah.
reference.
You know, so I would, my recommendation would be that we don't, you know, if it's 13,000 or less, we allow that.
Yeah.
But that at some point we need to sit down and take a hard look at these regulations,
Absolutely.
you know, and tighten them up a little bit where they need to be.
That being said, is anything being done about Lakeville?
That's something for the attorneys, because that's a pre-existing non-conforming service station, and there is no expansion. It's an intensification of a non-conforming use. So to go after an intensification is very difficult.
Hmm.
If you expanded the building, you can't make any improvements to the building.
There's no room.
Yeah, there's no room. He can't do anything with it because it's pre-existing non-conforming.
Is this the
But
one
they're
up on
parking
Candlewood Lake
across
Road?
the street.
Yeah.
I thought during I thought we had some stipulations about size of vehicles, like we didn't want those gigantic tow trucks for semis being parked there or something.
Oh, I don't know. I know because it went to ZBA for the original,
Maybe-
so you were on,
Yeah, what was, do you know what the year was? How,
maybe 16?
all right. Cause I go by there, I'm like, God, so, we didn't allow them to do any of the solvent stuff. They were doing painting or something there and the neighbors were
There's no
complaining.
body shop in the back.
Yeah.
Is there really?
There was, I don't know if it's still
They
there.
just have so many of those tow trucks.
Yeah, the giant ones.
Yeah, but they're in are they in an aquifer protection area? I mean, they're near Candlewood Lake, aren't they, or?
No, I don't know if it's here for protection there. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would be concerned, you know, with solvent use and.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm
Would
not
it-
sure, I just know they do a lot of repairs. They do a lot of towing for the state and stuff. You know?
Okay.
I do have one more thing for this zoning agenda item. You know, last week and the week before, last meeting, the meeting before, AR Builders, or Building, had come in, and they were wondering what our whether we were amenable to looking into and accepting an application for, you know, changing the zoning regs for what they wanted to do, and you know, I know they were on some sort of time thing,
Was
and I
that
don't wanna
the
keep them.
Zoom folks?
Yeah, that was a Zoom.
That was a really interesting night. Yes.
So, I mean, you know, we were given information, and I think in order to give them an answer back, because they're kind of waiting whether they should go ahead and buy the property or not, or whatever decision they're gonna make, they need some sort of, I think, guidance from us. Like, if the majority of us thinks,
I
hey,
forget
you know what, we're
how
not good.
Gary left that though. He was like, "What do you need from us?" I remember
But
at the
also,
end.
our
How did that
advice is
close?
non-binding, so we can't give them a go-ahead.
No, but we
Yeah.
can, no, exactly. We're not gonna give them a go-ahead or not, but if we
Right.
don't have if most of us think, you know what, you know, like how many apartments and everything,
Yeah.
and looking at there's an approved application there already, the Enclave, and that has, I don't know how many,
181 units.
181 units approved already. And their argument was, you know, we're gonna put 51 in by just taking one of those properties and kinda kills that project can't go forward because, well, it was dependent on the piece of property they wanna buy. Is that enough of a reason for some you know, for me, I think, you know, it's a lesser of two evils, so to speak. It's less development, but not everybody might feel that way.
Well, I'm sort of that way as well. I thought it was approved currently for 9 units, and now they want to make it 51.
No.
No, it's a lot.
Combined that piece and the piece next to it
Yeah.
were two different owners that were gonna work together, but now they're not working, they don't work together anymore.
Right.
The Enclave's kinda stuck, and that was 180 something,
Yeah.
and they can split the property or however legally, and then the plan is they wanna put in 51. So, don't know what you get with the other parcel of land, that is just nothing then.
Nothing, that so the approval kind of evaporates because
Yeah.
that property won't exist.
Yeah, and just my personal feeling is, you know, it's nice to say that we wanna do this thing, or are we amenable to it? Absent a site plan and a design study, and here's what it's gonna look like when it's all said and done,
Impact study.
you know,
Yeah.
I would wanna see something a little.
Hard pressed to say much to
Yeah.
them.
Kinda
I
like
don't
to
think
see
we
the
did
se-
say
like
much
an
to them.
application.
Are-
Kinda
are
like to
they
see the game
waiting?
plan before we agree to,
I agree.
we flip the coin, you know?
Are they waiting for us? I kind
Well,
of forgot about them
It's
because
it's
they're
a zone change to
pushing us.
even allow it, because right now it's not allowed.
Okay.
And they propose, here's some zone change
That's right.
without impacting a lot of properties in that zone.
Right.
3 properties, and one of them's already built on anyway. They're like, would you be amenable to making a zone change, to even allowing us to come forward with an application? Because they couldn't right now. And they don't think going a variance is a proper way, because by rights, a variance probably should never be given. There's no hardship.
Well, and they need.
They
Well,
recognize
what's-
it.
And it's a heavily developed area, that whole strip already.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be even more so.
And then there's the whole issue of, you know, additional sewage, additional water, well, the water's probably not an issue.
Was that brought up that night? I think
Yes.
somebody said something
Yes.
about that night, right? Okay.
Yes.
But their
More strained
idea,
on our
just saying, just putting their idea forth, is that you're replacing a larger project with a smaller one.
Okay.
Because the enclave is approved, it would have a bigger impact on traffic, on sewer and everything else. And by splitting them up, you approve one, and then whoever wants to develop the other property, where Peters Imports was, they would have to come in with a new plan, which may or may not happen. So I guess, you know, we could vote, or, you know, to see how many are amenable to even thinking about changing the regs, and how aren't, you know, because you have to base your question on, well, what's the likelihood the enclave would actually happen if the 2 property owners even can't get together? It might not happen. And then, you know, apartments, you know, maybe you don't want so many more apartments, and so if you figure, hey, if we don't take it, maybe it just won't happen anyway, either one. And so, you know, you don't have the apartments you don't want, you know, you minimize the development in that corridor right there. So those are like the 2 sides of it.
If we were really gonna talk about this, I need to go drive by and check out the site and really think about this.
Plus the information they gave us in the last 2 meetings. Because they
Yeah.
actually did give us a site plan.
They did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
I'd wanna take a look at that, but the other thing is too, I'd like to look at the legal implications of this. I'd like a little advice on that before we.
Yeah.
Cause, you know, obviously if you know, grant the benefit to one property owner and it affects negatively another property owner, where does that put us?
Well, exactly, and
You
that's
know.
what they said. They wanted to craft the language so that the impact isn't,
Yeah.
it's zone-wide.
How did you
but it only
remember them? How did you remember that for tonight? You just, it's been
Well,
on your
because
mind, or?
I have previous meeting materials here.
Yeah,
It carries
no.
forward until we decide to do something with it.
Good for you to bring this up.
But I know they're hanging out there, and I drive by their other building going on, you know, all the time.
Well, are they pressing any one of us? Have you heard from them, Fran, or have?
I did hear from them last week. They just wanted to know if there was an update or anything. And
Oh,
I said,
okay.
I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, and so I didn't know what the commission's info was, but. that
Could
was
I
it.
just ask what's been approved along that corridor? I know we have,
The Enclave, I
The
think that's
Enclave.
the only other one.
It's the only one that's been approved. That's 181 units.
And
Is
that
that
would
the
go
high
from
end?
181 to
No,
what? on
That's
No.
the
new
one
proposal?
that part of the land could be for this. At 51, there's
Well-
181 approved that could go in if the
Okay.
owners make nice with each other.
I see, that's including the 51.
Well, it's a different site plan and everything, but
Yeah.
if they can't
There's 2
come to
parcels.
an agreement,
Yeah, there's 2 parcels. And the owner won't sell the one parcel to the developer who has the other parcel next to the north of it. So AR Builders just looking to come in and just buy the one parcel, say parcel A. They're willing to come in and put 51 units in, and that prevents parcel B from buying that property and then putting 181 units in.
Mm-hmm, I see.
So reduce
I apologize for standing, but I got a cramp, Charlie horse in my leg, so.
He's got something to say.
But also, while I am standing, I recall in our minutes, I had asked Mr. Sweeney and Ms. Mitchell what they were looking to obtain from the zoning commission, as Mrs. Holmes alluded to a moment
Yes,
ago.
you did, yeah. that was a
Mr.
good-
Sweeney explained they're looking to gauge the zoning commission's comfort level and willingness to contemplate their proposal.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to get closure on, you know, for them to get closure. If we decide among ourselves.
I'm
are we
willing to
comfortable or
contemplate it, but
not?
I would need more information.
Yeah,
on it.
I am too. I like the idea of 51 versus 181.
They,
Yeah.
they
That's
did,
the idea.
they
Yeah,
did
working things
submit,
out.
if you look back through your materials, if you guys keep them, they did submit a site plan, and,
I
and
keep everything.
Yeah.
How many meetings back was that? Like,
it was not the
Four?
special
Three.
meeting,
Two or
but
three.
the last
Three.
two
Two
regular
prior
meetings.
before that.
I
Last
wasn't
four,
here.
a month
so
ago.
these guys been waiting a while.
Yeah, you know, oh, plus, time goes slowly in zoning. I mean, look at 101 Laurel Hill. They've been waiting for years.
True.
Where was that other one we approved?
The site plan mod?
Was it around Elbow Hill, somewhere around there?
Oh, 500A Federal Road, yeah, that hasn't been developed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we proved that.
Those were
South of the-
condo, no,
No, those are townhouses.
townhouses.
Oh,
Townhouses.
yeah.
Right.
Those high-end ones.
I just have one more thing for the commission, and then I'm all set.
Could we just close this out? I mean, in my opinion, I'm willing to listen more, but I'd like to see something definitive, and also, I'd like to have some sort of, I don't know what's the right word, legal input here as to, you know, are we gonna be impinging the rights of one property owner versus another property owner? It sounds to me like there's already disputes or lack of cooperation here, and so I don't wanna get into the middle of something.
Oh, you know where a legal opinion would be good is on the proposed zone changes
Mhm.
that AR Builders had proposed.
That would be good.
Yeah.
There you go, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for clarifying.
Zone from what to what?
The change of the zone regs, the underlying zone regs for the TCD, they had some language in, I forget where. It wasn't in the regs, but in the reference, the TCD design guidelines. And the design guidelines are a part of the regs, the reference from it. And it was about, you know, if you have a certain size property and you are hindered by natural things like wetlands, you could put a building with higher density as long as it's like 300 feet away from Federal Road.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, all that. Those were the reg changes.
And they
For
were,
that
they were
zone.
they were gonna build back further.
Yes.
Yes,
These
much
people,
farther. Away from the road.
300
Which was a
something
good
feet
thing.
Yeah,
back,
300
yeah,
feet. Yeah.
That's a benefit.
that's right.
And it was as of a certain date, like if you had an undeveloped property as of July
Yes,
1st.
so there's only
So-
like 3 undeveloped properties of the requisite size that would be impacted by these changes, that being one of them. It had to be like 5 acres or something. And then there was 2 others, I think 731 and 701 or something like that, or 700. They mentioned them in the actual, I have them in my notes. But the attorney should look at it and say, you know, is that spot zoning? You know, they would have,
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking
So
about.
should we
I-
have Fran email the attorney for this question and update us at the next meeting?
yeah, I
Have
could
that?
send you my notes on,
Either that or we have a session with them, you know, maybe an executive session where we discuss it. I don't know what the correct venue would be, but I would like to, you know, hear more on what the ramifications are. And then the other thing too, I would like to absolutely be certain that if we're moving in the direction of less development, that that's actually what occurs,
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
yes.
Would you like the applicant, or the potential applicant to come back in again?
No, at this point, I think they've submitted enough information. I think on this side of the coin, we have to look at it from our side. In other words, I'm in favor of less development, but at the same time, I don't want to create other problems. I don't want to impinge upon the rights of any, you know, contiguous property owners. There's the whole issue of, you know, where are they, what's WPCA and all that other stuff going to have to happen? Is this does this constitute a new application, which would have to go in front of WPC. So there's a, you know, to say, is there
Actually, it
potential
would
here?
be.
Yeah, there is, but there's you know, there's a lot more. Is this a whole new game plan now, and then a whole new set of hurdles?
And can't they just make an application and address all these issues in that manner?
There's quite a bit of work
Doesn't-
involved in that,
it
and quite a
doesn't
bit of
meet the
cost.
rules.
He doesn't, yeah.
Right, but that's not our purview.
I understand that, but I think that they want to know
Are we
before they,
comfortable?
you know,
Or are we like, oh, no
Before
way?
they
before they go flying
It's
down
just a
that
little
road at
risky
80
for
miles
us
an
to
hour.
start
Is there a tree
advising
across it?
people on what they should do, and then it's not our purview, number one, and number two,
You're not an advisor.
we could be
Yeah.
held liable for that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Okay, I got one more thing, if I can.
Sure.
And then, back in 2011, a customary home occupation was issued to a woman in Candlewood Shores regarding doing baking out of her home, selling cookies and cakes. Her business has escalated to the point to where for cottage foods, it's to my understanding, maximum income is $50,000. This woman's making, $80,000, or reporting $80,000 a year. In turn, the health department will not renew her health license, so they're having her go to the Department of Consumer Protection. So Department of Consumer Protection's involved now, and they are gonna change her to a bakery in a residential zone. So
Oh, man.
the customary home occupation has changed, obviously, her business has boomed. But the Department of Consumer Protection is gonna consider her a bakery.
Yeah.
As to where the original approval for her was just a customary home occupation for
An
a little
artist.
shop of chocolate. And days and hours of operation were 2 days. She has limited here, or written here. Small home-based business to sell molded chocolates and cakes to family and friends. Obviously, that's changed.
Now she's making 80K on
Yeah.
this, wow.
Yeah, roughly.
Do people physically
what
go
about
there to buy
inflation?
stuff? Or she just makes it there and ships it out?
She makes it and then she delivers it, to my understanding.
But is it more than the 2 days?
I don't have that information yet from her, so.
It's not just the income that's changed, the volume has changed,
Changed,
and
yeah.
probably the hours have changed, and the,
Yeah.
Was there some new state regs on these home baking and stuff like that?
Cottage kitchens, I think it is, where they can do them in their homes.
but she has to have certifications by the state.
But yeah, the
Food
health
service.
department won't do it.
Right,
yeah.
it's, right, because if you actually look on the health department's website, it says, you know, before you come and ask us for approval on this, you need to go to the state and get their approval for these different things. And it's not just, you know, you have to have the food certification license, the baking license, you have to have, you know, their, what do you call it, their tax number or ID, all this other stuff, so it's, if you're gonna run a state's saying if you're gonna run a business, you gotta actually be running a business.
Well, I would think you'd also have to have the proper kitchen
Yeah, I would think
to
she'd
do
be,
something like that.
Yeah.
Fire protection in the kitchen, yeah, that's
Codes,
another issue.
Code,
Yeah, well, that's fire and that's building,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know health department was gonna go, they were gonna meet with Department of Consumer Protection. I'll gather more information and bring it back to the next meeting.
But in general, Joe, I think this is a situation where you have somebody out, you know, who was originally, you know, doing something in a home, and now it's risen to the level of a commercial operation.
Yeah, that sounds
in a
like she
residential
should not
zone.
be doing that at home anymore.
Out of a residential
It
property.
sounds like
yeah, she needs to
You
go
need to
get a
get a space.
commercial space.
you need to
Yeah.
do that.
I'd be
No.
curious if she made any modifications to her home to enable her to jump up to $80,000.
She did get building permits back in 2011 to convert everything over, you know, for a commercial, or for a kitchen in her basement.
Well, those types of commercial kitchens, though, would require range hoods, fire protection, biannual inspections. It's not exactly for the faint of heart. That's expensive, and, you know, the fire protection bottles,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Have you
the
been
hood.
have you been over there to
No.
see the kitchen?
I haven't been there yet, no.
Where is it?
Candlewood Shores.
Is there an address?
Also, a lot of that commercial equipment requires different power levels, so
Highline.
you're not running it on 110 anymore.
Might depend on what she's making too. If it's chocolate artwork stuff, that's a little different than dozens of cookies in and out of an oven.
That's true.
Too.
That's
You
true
don't
too.
need heavy equipment to make like candy molds and things like that, so.
Maybe she just charges a lot.
Yeah, like you said, inflation, maybe it
That's
just, everything went up and that's why she's making 80K, she's charging more. Maybe the volume hasn't changed.
Are people
That
being
sounds like
bothered?
a lot of chocolate though, like per piece, chocolate isn't that much. 80,000.
Godiva is.
Sure.
Well,
Go-
true,
go-
I mean,
go to the next-
Godiva is
go to the
why
next
she-
town up.
she
Go to
making-
Bridgewater Chocolate, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the same stuff, they just charge
So what do you
more.
want from us, Fran?
I'll get
Just
more
awareness?
information and come back, yeah, and if she would have to do a new customary home occupation or move out, or get a different
Move the
location.
business.
Has
Yeah.
anyone,
What was-
have any of the neighbors complained?
No, there's
Oh.
been no complaints on the property whatsoever.
What was her business name? A little something?
Getting a Christmas present
More
for your
hot
wife,
pies, more hot pies.
It's a little shop of chocolate.
Little shop of horrors.
Shops of chocolate.
So did they contact us looking for guidance?
It came to me through the health department originally because they wouldn't renew her food license, food service license.
She hopes we push her through.
And it came to me, it was whether she had a customary home occupation, and I pulled the file, and there was one from 2011. Again, indicating that days of operation were 2 days a week.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Her
Yeah.
business model definitely changed.
Yeah.
Or something, a lot changed from 2011 to 2023. Yeah, I think the whole thing needs to be revisited.
Okay.
You don't want to make anybody sick with the chocolates. If you're like really,
Oh, she does
You
cakes.
don't want to
I
wreck
think
her
it's cakes and
business
stuff.
either.
no, you don't want to wreck her business either. But
Do we get samples, or how does that work?
Bribery.
It's okay with me.
Thank you, Mr. Lally.
All right, I'll have more information at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there's other commissioner comments, at this time, the chair would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn until our next meeting on September 14th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd happily make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, Mr. Kame and Mr. Timmerman, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
I.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions, none? Thank you. We are now adjourned.
Yay.
And thank you, Amy, for steadfastly taking the minutes. Kurt finally got the meter. Is there anyone else you have on that?